Here is a 1964 Westinghouse clock radio. This is a very simple AM tube type radio. And it's got those cardboard electrolytics in it. That cap is almost always bad by now. So we're going to replace that cap. Looks like the other caps on this unit are ceramic, so they should still be good. It has a very small telecron motor movement, or a telecron mechanism in it. This was probably among the cheapest clock radios they offered in that year. But it should give pretty good performance. It has all the features a 5-tube radio should have, it looks like, but just used those fairly cheap electrolytics. But all electrolytics, even the metal can type, are pretty much suspect by now in tube units. We've also got some other tube type clock radios here. You can see that Zenith started to cheap out on components in 1965. There's the mounting point for the metal can electrolytic, but they cheaped out and used cardboard. And the metal would have lasted most likely lasted a long time. Because I remember when I was a kid in the 80s, if I could find a radio like this one here that still had a metal can electrolytic in it, most likely it would still work. But even back in like 1984, these cardboard electrolytics were bad. So these were not good electrolytics. So I've got several of these radios in here to work with. I'll start with the Westinghouse. This has no screws. Well, it's got some nuts used in its construction, but to take the circuit board out, we'll just have to pull it back. The knobs are captive, so that you can't get shocked by removing the knobs and sticking your fingers in there, because it's a hot chassis set. So we'll just, first I'm going to get the blower, and I'll blow it out with the air compressor to blow out the junk. Then we'll get the circuit board out and we can replace that cap. There's one fastener to hold the circuit board on. It's a little clip, so we'll just have to pry that off of there. Here's the rear of the circuit board, or the bottom of the circuit board. Got it detached from the rails, and I'll just use some solder wick to desolder these terminals of the cap. Here are the new caps. We use 47 and 100, and that seems to work good in just about any of these radios. The original is 50 and 50, but we use the 47 on the terminal that connects right to the rectifier, which is this one here. We trace it back all the way to the rectifier tube here. Looks like, yeah, that's the rectifier. So that'll help reduce any possibility for a power surge, because if you use too much capacitance right after the rectifier, it can create a surge because it'll draw a lot of current when you turn it on, which can be damaging to the rectifier tube. But we'll use 100 for better filtering on the lower signal level stages. Now I've got the old cap out, and it's just as simple as putting the two negatives in the negative terminal and the positives up here. Now the new caps are installed. Just trim the leads and it'll be ready to test it. Okay, now I got the power hooked up, so we're ready to test it out. Let's see if it looks like we got any power here. I don't know if we may have a loose power switch or what. There we go, now I got some power.
Serve as angels standing at the gates of hell. I have chills right now just saying that, what you said. What advice would you give to someone who feels God?
These are cheap radios, but the performance I've always thought is really good on these Westinghouse radios.
Not delay.
I think I need to spray the volume control.
Answering that call. And
Appreciate your time. Have a good day.
You too, Bob Woodster, CEO of Farmers Insurance, was sponsoring the Farmers Insurance Open at Torrey Pines in La Jolla, California. Right now, Phil Mickelson, a one-stroke lead over Bubba Watson, Brendan Jacobson, all those guys 10 under.
Can you imagine being the CEO of a tournament where Tiger and Phil and Anthony Kim and all these guys are playing? Literally, Bob Woodster can go anywhere he wants to go, and security says,
he says, excuse you.
That you are actually standing at the cross, at the foot of the cross at Calvary.
8700 is the number to call, 620-8700. And, of course, we're on the air on AM 1070, online at kwell.com, desertvision.net. And you can download the Shoutcast application on your iPhone. Back to ADD for adults. How would somebody suspect, oh gosh, maybe I should go get this checked? What would be some typical, just really obvious things?
Well, first of all, you're not able to complete your tasks at work. That's one big deal.
800-437-2423 or go to ahaf.org for a free brochure on understanding Alzheimer's disease. That's 1-800-437-2423. I remember one summer day when
So there's the Westinghouse radio. I've got the actual back on, and it's just a plastic back that snaps on. So these very simple radios, I really enjoy working on them. And I don't really get into talk radio so much, but if I take this home, I should be able to pick up some music stations. These don't quite have the sensitivity to pick up music stations in this area. There's the completed radio. Looks like all the tubes are original as well. Now here's the back cover in place. I never thought this back cover was really appropriate for a tube type radio. I might just drill some more holes in it. I don't think it quite gives the ventilation you need. And you can see here near the 50C5 tube was a warpage spot, or a discoloration spot from heat.